Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me on my channel. Welcome back. Today is Saturday morning, and it's a little bit brisk out here, but I've waited for a few hours so that I could come out and do this video. Um, when I moved here 4 years ago, I guess it was April 2022, the building that you see behind me is the only thing that was on this property. And I fondly remember it as the shack. I nicknamed it the shack. So this was the only thing on the property. There was no tiny house. There was no partial hydro. There was no nothing. There was a well and there was this shack behind me. And April 2022, I moved into this shack. Uh, Retrofitted it a little bit and put some insulation in the walls and cleaned it out with the help of my nephew and his friend Garrett. And I proceeded to, use um, I guess, the resources that I had from my other property to build this house because I had given up my apartment. And so the little bit of savings that I did have, I invested in this property. And I had a dream and I had a vision. But that vision did not include, having a compostable toilet because initially I had wanted to put in a septic system. And things happened after 2020. As you guys are all well aware, the costs of materials and this and that and the other thing just went through the roof. And it was no exception with me either. The quote that I had originally gotten in 2021 to do the septic system was approximately, I think it was $6,800 was the first quote that I was given. And then the second quote went to about 12.5, and then the third quote was about 15,000, and then the fourth quote was about 25,000. So needless to say, I did not have all those resources to do what I wanted to do here, and so therefore I looked at the rules and regulations that govern, my area that I live in here in New Brunswick, Canada, on the East Coast, and in Environment Canada, who regulates, I guess, solid waste and all. We could go on and on about all that. Um, the regulations stated that I was not able to build my own, dig a hole, basically, because I know all kinds of people that have mini excavators and tractors and so on and so forth, and I wasn't able to dig a hole and put my own septic system in the ground and run the lines for the weeping bed. Had I been able to do that, I would have definitely have done that. And instead, the government has regulated it that only a licensed, approved contractor can do that in my area, and it might be similar in your guys' areas as well. I mean, if you're wanting to go off grid and that, you probably should look into that. So I went to Environment Canada website and I read the rules regarding, what I needed to do, and I'm within my legal right, I guess, as a landowner to have a outhouse if I wanted to have an outhouse, which is basically just a hole in the ground, and you build a structure around the hole and you go do your business, and then you go about your day. Some people, however, are not able to dig holes because maybe they live on bedrock. I can think of a friend of mine in Ontario that actually has an off-grid property, and they live in bedrock. And actually, one of the questions that they had for me last year, and I'm just now getting around, Loretta, to answering your question as to what do I do for, my waste diversion. And so I'm sitting out here in front of my shed, my shack, to explain that a little bit. And so this morning, I'm doing this now because I have to. I'm expecting possibly my sister and her brother to just show up. They didn't text me or call me. I just get a feeling that possibly they might be coming because I said in the last video that he has a tractor, and a few weeks ago, I guess it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, you can't see them here, but in behind me, you see some black garbage bins. And so basically, we tried to lift those over to the big 10-foot hole on the side of the house, because that's where the solid waste is basically going to be emptied into. So basically, uh, that's my system, I guess. There are all kinds of people that do have, bucket systems, and here's one here in front of me, and it's just this is happens to be a white food grade bucket, and you can probably see some droplets on it because I just got finished cleaning it. Now this here is a urine diversion, like a urine bucket, basically. And what I do is what you would normally do with any toilet that you need to clean is you have a toilet brush, and I purposely didn't clean it all this morning so that I could show you, the inside of the bucket itself looks pretty clean, right? But I did leave one little spot. I'm going to have to stand up to show you this. One little spot to show you. I don't know if can't tell. But anyway, in there on one of the sides is a little bit of buildup, and that's what happens with urine. You basically and that'll happen like even within a week's period. The Your urine is obviously yellow. That's why that spot is yellowed. I think you guys can see it. Maybe you can see it. There we go. Anyway, I left that there specifically so that you guys can see it. And cold water doesn't, get the buildup of nitrogen off of a white bucket. You need to clean it. You use whatever cleaning solutions you want to use. I typically will use a spray bottle that has essential oils in it. It helps if you have a kettle, and basically I heat up some water and I empty it in the bucket. I clean my urine bucket usually, I don't know, every couple of weeks. And because if you don't, what ends up happening is when you empty it out, um, it because of that buildup, it will have a smell. It will have like a urine smell, which isn't very pleasant, right? So clean your bucket. And anyway, you can use rainwater for that. I do use my kettle with rainwater for things that I clean around here. And I also use, this is the only kettle that I have. I probably should have a second kettle for outdoor stuff. And, because inside your kettle, you can see some of that yellowing down there. It does get a buildup in there as well. And the easiest way to clean that is basically just to take some vinegar and water and boil it, and all that buildup will come off of there as well. So that's an excellent cleaning material to use, is vinegar. Now, when it comes to the solid waste, Environment Canada, that regulates my area, as I said, basically states that for me, I'm not able to do what most people do, like that I've heard anyway. They'll take their like inside the house, and I'm not going to show you that, but inside the house, I have another bucket, and over top of that bucket is basically a round frame that goes over top of that, and it's got a seat on it because I explained in my last video that I built um, the structure that I have for my two separate seats, one for um, basically just for urine and the other for the solid matter. I built it too short and it bothers my back. So I'm still actually using it's called a porta potty, or not, yeah, a porta potty, I guess is what it's called. So, and that's the one thing for anybody that has that type of system is that, and some women would find that rather difficult to get used to at first, because when they sit down to do their number two business, sometimes your urine actually comes out with it. And I mean, I know that this isn't, a great topic to discuss, but you know what? It's life, right? And if the grid, if anything ever did happen to the grid, and you live in a city, you're in some sort of an urban area, and the grid went down, you still need to get rid of your solid waste, and you still need to get rid of your urine. So this isn't something that should be a topic that's avoided. If anything, learn how you would have to deal with it, right? So that's my number two diversion inside. So I use number one when I got to go number one, and I use number two when I have to go number two. If I feel like, there's going to be a number one before number two, then I do number one first. Sometimes, of course, there is, instances where they do mix. And, but that's not that often, right? Once you get used to that system, it's not that often. And so anyway, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to show you. I'm going to back you guys up just a wee little bit. And I'm going to show you, if I can, lift you up just a tad. I think that's good. Just for a minute. Put my gloves up here out of the way. This is a bag here. And of course it's upside down. It's called... it's peat moss, basically. Sphagnum. Shepgum? I don't know. Peat moss. It's 85 liters or 3 cubic feet. So this is the bag itself. I'm holding it up. This bag here of peat moss, and I'll show you the inside of it. I've got a red cup inside, and this bag itself basically sits inside my bathroom. And this is what I mean by cubic, cubic. It's compressed peat moss inside, and you can basically just take this and it's dried out, and you just break it up like so. I think you guys can see that. Anyway, here's a closer look inside the cup as to what it looks like. So basically, when I do clean out my solid waste container, which is basically a bucket similar to the urine bucket, I basically clean it out really well. I use essential oil sprays. I use vinegar at times, and I basically line the bottom of that bucket with this, right? And it usually takes maybe about, I don't know, 2 full cups of this. This bag itself, I'm going to sit back down and I'm going to move it. Here we go. Hopefully, here we are. So this bag itself, I bought this bag of peat moss when I moved here in April 2022, and I have been using it ever since. So actually it's got about, I'm going to say, I don't know, 6 inches of compressed peat moss in there right now. And I think that 6 inches of compressed peat moss will actually take me throughout the winter. So it's actually going to take me for another 6 months. And if not, I'll go buy another bag at one of the hardware stores, right? But I do believe that this will last me until probably, I'm going to say March or April of 2026. So that's the neat thing about the system that I use. Inside the bucket, I layer the peat moss on the bottom after it's been cleaned, of course. It's always best to probably clean it at least minimum of once a week, because what ends up happening with humidity and things like that, and of course your solid waste is basically food that your body has processed, and basically when you do your business inside the bucket, and if it's humid, it will create fruit flies. So that's the one downside, I guess, about doing that. Of course, aside from a shitty situation that you have to empty out once a week, that's the one downside, is sometimes you get fruit flies when it's a humid period. If you've got 2 weeks of humidity, high humidity, then possibly. Then you know what I found, if I just empty it out more frequently, then so instead of maybe once a week, do it twice a week, and then use your vinegar and your cleaning supplies and things like that. But that's incredible that this 185-liter bag or 3 cubic feet of peat moss has actually done me 4 years now. Actually, 4.5 years, right? So I believe that it will actually do me 5 years. I guess we're going to find out. because I'm going to go into the winter and I'll let you guys know if I end up having to go buy another bag. So when you line the bottom of it, then that collects, that's the base. And then you do your business, and every time you do your business, you take and you put, of course you're putting toilet paper in there. You wipe yourself, you're putting toilet paper in there, and you're putting peat moss on top of that. There is no smell to it generally if you're emptying it and cleaning it out properly. There's absolutely zero smell to it. Some people I've heard use sawdust, and I guess there's enough mills around me that I probably could get that, but I don't really have storage for it at the moment. And because the peat moss has done me really, really well, that's what I use. And I think I'm trying to think, when I bought this 4 years ago, it was probably about 30 some dollars. So I know that might sound high because some of you guys, only pay 20 some or something. But now I think it's like 40 something. It's almost doubled. So when I do have to go buy this, it's probably going to be about 40 some bucks. And I keep it inside, keep it nice and dry. That's the other thing. When they do sell this, the hardware stores and things like that, in the garden centers, they keep it outside and it actually gets wet, and so you have to open it up and you have to dry it out. So basically, I take that bucket and I come to this garbage container, which is black, and I empty it into my garbage container, and I brought the supplies that I use to do that. So basically, normal, typical supplies. I have a roll of paper towel that I have. I've got disposable gloves that I use, and I have a spray bottle that I use, which I'm going to actually be using today, because I'm going to be cleaning the one out from inside the house, empty it in one of these garbage bins that basically just have what's this here. I think you guys can see it. It's just a heavy duty black garbage bag, and the Environment Canada in my area states that you cannot put mixed solid waste, let's say, with any other materials or compost or anything like that, on the ground. It has to sit for one full complete year before you can use it. So what I do is I basically fill this up, and one of these containers is one full year for one person. That's it. When it composts down, after you've left it for a year, and you're able to incorporate it into your garden, whatever, flower beds, whatever you want to mix the compost with, and straw and whatever. When I go to open up this lid, which was full when I shut it down, basically, and I sealed it for the full year. By the time I go and I open it up again, this compost is actually less than half of this whole garbage box, right? So that's pretty neat. And all that's inside of it is your solid waste and your toilet paper and the paper towels, of course, that I use. That I obviously, when I clean out my bucket from inside, all of the paper towels go right in there as well. So there's paper towels, there's toilet paper, there's peat moss, there's solid waste, and that's basically it. I've used as I said, one garbage bin container per year, and that's it. When it's done, you basically, after the year, so behind me over here, I'm just going to stand up and show you this. So there's over there, and yeah, there's a little one, and that's because so this one here, this one is now full. And I leave it here beside the house because it's closest, especially in the wintertime. I just basically can shovel, the area here to my door to get into my shed. And I keep this all open because this is where my electrical panel is, right? It's basically 12 feet away from my house. So this one's full. I can, so it either gets, if it either gets sealed up for a full year. I put it over there against the shed, and I leave it there until next year. But because I'm going to be selling the property, I'm going to be basically emptying this in the 10-foot hole because it's going to have soil covered up over with it. So over there, I have already used the one garbage bin from 2022 that's been mixed with basically rotted straw and compost material, and it's been, put on my flower beds and things like that. I have not used it yet for vegetable gardening, but I wouldn't have a problem using it because it's basically once it's sat a full year, it's less than half of that container. I would say it composts down to about a quarter of that container, and it's basically a sludge. That's all that's left, and it's there's a slight smell to it, I guess, when you open the lid to empty it out. But again, that's not that big of a deal to me. It's just it's life, right? And we have to deal with it. And so that's what I would suggest for anybody. It's a super easy, simple solution, and I'm within the legal for Environment Canada to be able to do it this way, and it works. So, is this what I had originally envisioned and what I thought? No, it wasn't. But due to circumstances and due to things that happen in life, you have to improvise and you have to pivot and you have to change the way, you originally might have thought to do things. And anyway, that's how I do it. I hope that it's been, helpful to some of you folks that have wondered what my system is. This is my system. It's pretty basic, really. I've never really talked about it before because I really didn't see the need to talk about it. It's so simple that I think that when I watch videos and other people watch videos, you think it needs to be some sort of a complicated, huge deal, and there's really nothing huge or complicated about it. It's a bucket basically that you do your business in. The urine, for instance, I mean that's pure nitrogen. When you go and you buy commercial fertilizers, well, obviously it's got nitrogen in it, right? I mean, plants love nitrogen. So, yes, do I use it for my vegetables and my shrubs and my plants and my flowers? Absolutely, I do. But you can't pour it directly on, your plants or you're going to kill them. So it has to be diluted with water if you're going to use it. If, obviously, even me as a single person, I couldn't possibly use that much urine. So obviously you do dump it out, and any place that you do dump it out, typically you'll have like a yellow patch because whatever you're dumping it out on, it's pure nitrogen, right? And it's too much for whatever you're dumping it out on. But I do take it over by the tree line and I put it over there, and it just goes on shrubs and trees and bushes and grass, and some of it is used to mix with water, and I use it in my garden, of course. Many people do. After all, our ancestors, I mean, had bed chambers and things like that. I mean, what do you think that they did with them, right? I mean, they've been doing this for centuries. It's a common practice. I think everybody gets it in their head that it needs to be complicated. It really doesn't need to be complicated. And I guess looking back, I mean, do I wish that I would have had whatever it would have been, 15,000 or $25,000 to do it? Well, that would have made life a lot easier, I suppose. But I didn't have it, right? And this is basically what I had. There are other options. If you have a huge solar array and things like that, you can actually get an incinerating toilet, which costs a little bit more than about $5,000 here in Canada. And, you basically do all your business in the incinerating toilet. You sit down, you do all your business the way you normally would a flushable toilet, and you push a button, and it uses a huge amount of energy and you would need a huge, massive solar array in order to keep up with that system. But it is an option, and I have seen some channels that are using that system, and that's awesome. You know that they can afford that system, and they have the solar array and whatnot to be able to do that. I don't have that system, and I work with what I've been given, and I'm happy to do so. So it's not that big of a deal. You keep your buckets clean. You wash them out, and you do it frequently, and if you do that, there's not that big of a deal. So anyway, thank you very much for listening today, and I wish you all a wonderful weekend. Bye for now, everyone.